Okay. All right. I'm going to use my makeshift tripod because I wanted to get a little bit higher. So all I'm going to do is get a fresh piece of sandpaper. This is just water. Nothing special, nothing magical. I like to wet the sandpaper and wet the panel. About to run out of water. Because I'm just working this transition, until you get to metal, you haven't gone too far. The point is to try to take the primer back down, and all your little imperfections you can take out. That's all the primer's for. It's not for making paint stick better. It's not for making anything else. Now, when you do get the body filler, it is good to, especially if you're using heavy filler, you will get, I won't repeat, A-holes of where it shrinks on the edges. Primer is good for sealing that. This is nothing special about this primer. It is a high build from Summit. It's just a urethane primer. Um, we have used lacquer stuff in the past. I'm not a big fan of it. This actually has a hardener. You don't have to wait for it to dry so much. I'm not sponsored by Summit. I have used their paints and their paint products. The biggest thing is price. Um, yes, other products are great. We've painted PPG, their Omni brand. Summit, you don't get a custom mix. You have to go with their paint. The paint we have currently may be Kirker that I'm going to paint on this. And then the top of it is going to be Summit paint. So I'm not brand loyal to anybody. I like colors. Summit has a really nice selection of colors. And I'm just telling you, for a fraction of what other people charge, you let your finger tell you when. Yes, I do need some more water. But you let your finger tell you when it's done. That's all you're doing. If you can feel it, trust me, when you paint it, it'll pop out. It'll stick out like a sore thumb. It'll just be right there looking at you. Other people might look by it, but for whatever reason, you will see it because you know it's there. Now, you decide if you can live with it. Uh, if you're going to paint it yourself, you know, a lot of people are intimidated by paint and body work and stuff like that. Just do it. Uh, don't be. It's nice to say, "Hey, I painted that," but that's not why to paint it. Main reason I paint it, too cheap to pay anybody else. Not what they charge for paint, but paint is all in the prep. If you get the prep and you spend a little time on your body work, you're going to get a much, much better paint job. If you have a Ripley body, there is another product, once again, not sponsored by them. It's made by Clausen. You won't find it in any stores. You have to order it off of the internet. Um, it's called All You Need, especially if you're painting over an old lacquer paint job or something like that. That stuff will feel like a 120 scratch. I've heard people using it to fix hail dents using a ketchup bottle. It's a polyester primer and sealer. It has a built-in guide coat. That is not what's on this, but I have used it, and if you are a novice at bodywork, it will really make you look like you're good. Uh, I have used it, especially painting over unknown stuff where you don't know exactly, because paints can react to each other. Uh, so you don't want to mix things up. If you stick with a paint, whatever paint you use, stick with that brand. When you get your hardener and your reducer and all that stuff, reducer, I can play with that. You don't, it's not that big a deal, but especially your hardener, because it is a chemical reaction. Everybody's paint's a little different. So urethanes are a little more forgiving. You start talking about acrylic enamels and stuff like that. That's what we used to paint with. Um, it's a little more finicky. Put what you're putting it over, especially. I've had lacquers. I know lacquer made a comeback. I've had it react all kinds of body fillers. Just eat its way through it. Lacquer never dries. It does not have a catalyst. Okay, Max. Max is up from his nap now. I guess he hears me talking. Always clean it off. I keep a rag, wipe it down, and then you can start with your thumb and your finger and start working it. I got a little dent right there. Like I said, if you can feel it, it's there. I've got some water on this rag here, and I just keep rolling my sandpaper. You'd be surprised. I've used one sheet, and I've done both sides. So when you're doing this, as opposed to just using a little thing, this is spreading it out. I'm not bearing down into it. I'm just letting the sandpaper drag. It's doing the work. You see it coming off. The water is only there to clean your sandpaper. Some people put a little soap in it with it. They soak their sandpaper. I've heard all kinds of things. You don't have to. I mean, it's up to you. The only thing I would warn you about is if you feel a zit kind of feeling or like it's skidding, look, you might have picked up a piece of trash. It's another reason why you want to wash it down. If you do, you're going to take it, if it's a piece of sand off of this or a piece of dirt off the car or something, it'll put a scratch right through it, and then you're back to priming and blocking and sanding again. So just like that little dent right there, I'm going to keep going this way, then I'll change it and go this way. You just keep working it. And once again, I'm not down into the body. I've got enough primer. When I put it on here, I put it heavy enough that little dents and creases and things like that, that's what you're using that to build. You can come back if you wanted to and putty it. When you've got little, just low spots, just sand it out. That's what that primer's for, to sand it out. Let your fingers do the walking. I got another little crease right there, little low spot. Like I said, I am not a body man. I have not been to school. I did not work professionally for it. Started painting cars just because I couldn't afford to pay somebody else to paint them. Yes, I have used the economy type paint places and stuff. If I just want to put a quick coat on something or something like that, but I'll tell you the trick to those is do this, because those guys can generally paint. Now, they might not use the best product, but if you're getting it a neutral color or something like that, but they are not going to do this. You're going to want to do this. They don't have time. They're working just spraying cars. And the other trick to them, if you don't want to spray it, is take it all apart. Most places want it to where it will run so they can pull it in and out. But don't be afraid to do this. That's how you're going to get a much better outcome. I think some of them will maybe charge you a labor rate if you want them to do all that. But my goodness, get out there and rub on it. It's not going to hurt you. If you don't, we cheat a little bit by putting it on the lift. That puts it here. If you're down, oh, it'll start to get you back. It's a good shoulder workout. Um, give it a minute, and basically that's how you come up with a good paint job. I understand I said good enough paint job that when you pull up at the show, at least you're not in flat black. And somebody goes, man, that thing sure does look good. Painting is a different thing. Like I said, no professional training. I have just done it. We've played with a lot of different colors and paints and um, metallics, single stage to base clear. Um, Even if I use single stage, I mix clear with it and then I will clear over it. I like to do lesser paint gradually to more clear. So I put a little paint in with my clear. I feel like it gives more depth, especially if you're doing metallics. I think it's a little more forgiving. I'll show you a truck that I've done recently that was a metallic, came from Summit, called Black Sapphire. Um, it laid out really good. The gun I use, once again, I do not have a Auda or Seda or any of that high dollar stuff. I use a 3M gun that I bought off of Amazon. Everybody uses the 3M disposable cups with liners. You can buy this gun for a couple of $100. The next generation, the third generation, I think they're around $300 or $400. But when it comes to paint guns, you're not going to get a rebuilt Seda for that kind of money. It is an amazing product. I'm not sponsored. The paint does not flow through the gun. It only flows through the tip. The tips are disposable. It takes 5 seconds to clean it. You just throw the cup away and take lacquer thinner, a thimbleful, and clean out the tip. And you can reuse the tip. Once again, we paint out of those tips until they don't paint anymore. Uh, Once again, that's kind of the good enough, barely good enough garage motto. Just too cheap to do anything else. So if you've got any comments, any questions, if you want to see more bodywork stuff, if you want to see the paint process, I am more than happy. Like I said, I can show you the redneck hillbilly way that we do it. I'm sure other people will say that's wrong technique or this or that. As long as the outcome's good, I don't think it really matters to anybody. I know they like to pull the line and push the line and all that stuff. On a car this size, when I do this roof, I'm not looking forward to it. I'll have to do it in sections and overlap, and we will do the roof as one separate paint job. I've got walk boards, and we will probably do it right here on the lift. The lift is a little bit of way to cheat. I will do the fenders off of the car. You can, I would say, it's not even so much this car, but other cars, you have to get them off the ground. Well, I do. I'm not as young as I used to be. So that bending over and squatting all the way down, it really helps to get that car up off the ground. And I would rather walk on a walk board or cheat a little bit and use the lift to paint the car. Second gen Camaros, Trans Ams, I've got a bunch. They are so rounded This is mostly a flat panel. When that car turns and bends and goes down, if you do not get it up off the floor, you're going to be almost laying down to try to paint that car underneath to get it to lay out right. I like to paint them in pieces. The fenders, hood, and all that for this car will be painted separate. I've already done under the hood, and then we'll do the doors. We'll do jam it and all that stuff. But the top will be a different color than the bottom. I've got a granite pearl metallic here from Summit. I'm debating on that or that caramel color. I haven't decided. I can't. Maybe y'all can help me decide. I just don't. I can't decide. It's the same color that I showed you on that intake. I was going to put that on another project, and then didn't change my mind. I actually painted a Jeep that color, and so I might do the hood. I've got a gallon of it. I might do the roof, but I'm going to break it here. As you see, the other broke it here. That's a common place to break it. It does have the side trim. I got to put these holes back in it where I did all the body work. I'm going to just do it like a hat, and I want just the top from the drip rail up a different color, and the whole car will be the root beer brown. So, like I said, if you got any questions, if you got any comments, let me know. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Check you later.